Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a very special one. We're going to talk about the newest release from Natasha Denona, and this is I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette. I was ecstatic when I saw this release, like just revealed on Natasha Denona's website. Obviously, we saw the pictures got leaked. I immediately purchased it. Natasha Denona revealed the color story. She put it on sale for the next day. It just went super quick. Like the 1 week was so hectic in the Natasha Denona realm that everything was super quick and I got the palette. Now this palette is a midi size eyeshadow palette. You know how much I love Natasha Denona's midi eyeshadow palettes. Obviously the price is high. This retails for $69, but the best part is there are a lot of affiliates who have like a coupon code. I waited for it to release on Natasha Denona website and I applied Patty's code, Patty15 I think, and then I got 15% off. So the price came out to be like $58 and I got free shipping. So I thought like for $58 it's definitely worth picking up. And this is how the palette looks. Obviously, I have swatched the palette. I've created looks with this palette. So this is not the fresh size, but I love the packaging too. I love how modern it is, but I love that raised packaging on it. And look at the color story. Look at the color story. It's so pretty. It's so neutral. It's so everyday friendly. I feel like this is so apt for people who go to like office, for work, I know, for studying. I don't know, if you apply makeup and you are a lover of like a everyday makeup look, I really love it. Not saying that you cannot like put a smoky eye, blue eyeshadow on your eyes and walk out of the door for an everyday office look, but this is like my perfect like office look palette, I would say, and I really loved when I saw this color story. My only doubt was whether it's gonna perform on medium tan skin tone or not. Look at this. I created two eye looks. Wait till the end to see both these looks in action. But yeah, let's move on to the swatches too, because as soon as I got this baby, I swatched this baby, and luckily there was sunlight going on that time because I came back from office and I swatched it immediately because I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait. I actually, you know what? I come back from office. By the time I come back, it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30-ish. I go and pick up my kids and then I come back home. Because Natasha Denona palette was at home, I first came home, I looked at the palette, I swatched, and then I went to pick up my kids. That's saying something. I still went on time, but I went and picked up the kids later and then I came back because that's how excited I was. Now, let's move on to the description of the shades so that you can see in action how dimensional, how beautiful it is, especially under the sunlight. It glimmers and shines like no other, and I was so excited when I saw that glimmery, shimmery eyeshadows. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind that when you apply these bronzy eyeshadows on your eyes, the look is gonna be similar. Like it's gonna be neutral, it's gonna be taupey-ish. If you apply these like pinky tones on your eyes, it's gonna turn out a little rosy or like a little peachy with this wit shade. But overall, you're not gonna get like different like variety. Smithy, if it was 2 years before, when I did not have that many palette in my collection, I would have been not that happy with this purchase just because it's not giving me that much variety. But even though it's not giving me variety, I know I'm gonna use it so very much because it's like my everyday palette. So that's where I draw the line. Am I gonna use it every day, or am I looking for variety? Like I would look for variety in indie palettes no matter what. But when it comes to mainstream brands, when I am spending my money, I'm looking to use each and every eyeshadow of that palette. And that's why I like my Patrick Ta Rose Dimension palette, my dream palette from Natasha Denona, which you have heard me raving about because this stays right center on my vanity, and that's how much I love it. And this, you can see, it definitely goes much more deeper. And then I have Natasha Denona Retro palette, which goes much more like a rosy tone. It has totally different vibes than the new Natasha Denona Nude palette, and I am super happy that this is more in the neutral color family rather than being cool tone, because that's the only reason why I did not buy the glam eyeshadow palette, just because I felt like I'm gonna get gray eyeshadow looks out of it, and this I'm happy with. I'm really happy with. Let's also talk about different texture that she's included in this palette because I was super happy with those. This palette has 7 matte shades, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it has 7 matte shades. It has some beautiful smooth metallics that doesn't emphasize the texture at all. It has sparkling finishes. She calls it sparkling foiled eyeshadows, which is Ella, which is Filigree, and which is Muse. So 3 sparkling foiled shades. Then she introduced the sparkling wet effect formula, which is Delilah here and which is Mia here. And then she also has the wet glossy effect, which is right here, which is Sheen. This as a highlighter is absolutely stunning. Like you can see, I applied that as a highlighter and I love it, love it. Okay, now let's move on to the eye looks using this palette, because if you're anyone like me, I have watched like 20 eyeshadow videos on this Natasha Denona I Nude palette. Not because I want to steal the looks or anything, because I was so excited to see. Even if I did not buy this palette, I would have watched all the videos that has come for this palette, because that's how excited I am. Okay, now let's move on to the 2 eye looks that I created using this palette. Okay, let's begin creating a look with it, because I am excited for this baby. I cannot even tell you how much. This is the first time I'm gonna play with these shades. Super excited, but also super nervous on how this is gonna translate on my eyes. There's only one way to know, by putting it on my eyes. I feel like for me, it's like a true neutral. It doesn't go warm at all. It's leaning, tippy-toeing towards cooler tone, but I would say for the majority of the part, I feel like it's true neutral. Okay, let's begin, okay? Actually, I should use a primer, right? Okay, the eyes are primed. Now let's move on to this shade, which is Mesh. And this, I'm just assuming that's gonna be like a transition shade on me, just because it's super close to my skin tone. And you can see, like my primer that I applied, the Anastasia primer, is definitely on the lighter side. And when I apply the Mesh shade on top of it, it applies more like a neutral stony shade. It has a hint of taupe and like mauve in it, but super neutral, I would say. Very close to my skin tone. Like, yeah, I would say very close to my skin tone. I'm more of a neutral skin tone. There you go. Yeah, that's a beautiful transitioning shade on me. I'm gonna take like a flatter brush and go into this shade, which is Fair. And I'm gonna just take that underneath my brow bone, just to lift my brows. Yeah, I love these shades, especially for my inner corner, as well as these blending shades. Yeah, I love to have one of these shades, not too many lighter tones, but one of those shades. I really love it. Okay, after Mesh, I'm gonna go into Tender shade and then go into this shade. Let's see where we go with this. I'm gonna take the Tender shade with the same refer number 15 brush, and I'm gonna take that there. Okay, this is definitely like my crease shade, like my true crease shade. And it blends so very nicely with that Mesh shade. Look how beautifully it meshes with that shade. I'm gonna start building it up a tad bit more, just to see if I can get some definition. Really pretty, really pretty. Okay, now I'm gonna take a smaller blending brush, refer number 13, and go into that Silhouette shade, which is the deepest brown of the palette. And I'm gonna just place that right there in the outer corner. It's a true coffee brown shade, as she says. Definitely not too cool tone, not too warm tone. Like, I feel like it's super neutral on me. Now I'm gonna take the Silhouette shade and Tender together, and I'm just gonna take a tad bit into my crease. I don't want too much of darkness, but I do want some definition. And I'm also going to take the mixture of those 2 shades on my lower lash line too. If you know me, you know I don't like too much of grays on me. And that's the main reason why I stay away from these gray tone palette. But on the contrary, I love cool tone shades, but cool tone shades doesn't mean gray. You know, I love my mauve tones, my neutral tones, my taupes. I really, really love them. But I definitely stay away from grays. And I don't get that gray effect from these shades. I definitely feel like it's more on the taupia side. I'm going to take that tender shade that we applied second and then just tapping off the edges, blending the edges and making a seamless blend. Yeah, I really love that. I'm going to take a tad bit of wit. If you know me, you know, like I love those shades. I just love, I cannot not use it. I'm going to take that mainly in the inner corners and then place it right there. It shows up very, very nicely on my skin tone. It's not too light too. I definitely can see that peachy effect. Yeah, I like that. And also on my lower lash line. Just like that. I love it. Okay, I'm going to take my NYX glitter glue because the star of the show is the shimmers. And I cannot wait. Okay, I'm going to just apply that right over the space where we do not have anything and just create a tacky base. And once we have that tacky base, we'll go over with the shimmers and then we can deepen it out with that deeper dark silhouette shade. Okay, now what are we going to use for the shimmer is the biggest question. I'm going to start off with this Ella shade and then finish it off with the Muse shade. Let's see. Okay, taking Ella. Ella is like a true bronzy shade. Yep. That's so pretty. So pretty. It's smoother in texture. It doesn't have so much of like sparkle and shine. It definitely has that specks of like shimmeriness running all throughout. Why is there a fly? There's definitely specks of like shimmeriness running throughout, but it's not textured by any means. Super, super smooth. I'm actually gonna take another shade too. Let's take our fingers. I'm gonna take this shade Filigree because that's more of a deeper bronzy shade. I wanna see if it is different than this Ella shade or not. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, it's this shade Filigree is definitely for like those smoky eye looks. Oh, I love that shade. Oh yeah, that's definitely my cup of tea. Oh, I love it. This can be such an office palette for me. I cannot even. Okay, I'm gonna take that brush with silhouette on it, tapping off the excess and dipping it right in the outer corner because I don't want to lose the depth. Okay, now let's take Muse. This is the sparkliest shade in the palette. Like, it has so much of dimension, so much of texture. It picks up really, really very nicely on the brush. I'm sure if I pick it on the finger, it'll be 10 times more. But let's see if we apply it on the brush, how is it gonna be? So I'm gonna take that right there. Oh, wow, my, so pretty. So pretty. Oh my goodness, look at the shine. Look at the shine. Oh my God. That's like liquid metal. Oh goodness. That is so pretty. That's so pretty. I want to see. That's already so shiny. I want to just take it with my fingers and see how it is. Taking Muse. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I tapped my finger. That's it, what I did. But just so that I don't want like a cut crease. And with the brush, if I pick it up, it is going to be like a cut crease because I'm getting more defined. Oh my. Love it. Love it so very much. Can you see me from space? Oh my God. Oh, the dimension is stunning. Stunning. Now, once we have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that flatter brush and I'm going to just dip back into that shade Ella on my lower lash line. Just right there. I don't like a super shimmery lower lash line, but I feel like that will complement it so very nicely. I'm going to take a tiny brush with the shade Sheen, this one, in my inner corner, or should I take Delilah? Or Whisper, actually. Let's take Whisper. Like with this look, Whisper would be stunning. Okay, let me show you where is Whisper. This is Whisper. Because it's more of a taupey eye look, let's see what Whisper can do. Oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. It's like a champagne shade. Not too much, not too little. It's just perfect. Okay, let me finish off this eye with some liner and mascara. Maybe some lashes. How about that? And come right back. And that's my first eye look. I really love how glam it is. It's so, so glam. Like when I look at this palette, like just every day speaks to me. I just wanted to see how glam it can go. And I feel like this eye is definitely super, super glam. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, I'm excited. When I swatched this shade Sheen, it looked like it could be a beautiful highlighter, so I want to try that. I don't have any highlighter on my face right now. I just have the M Cosmetics blush, cream blush in the shade Demure, which is more of like a neutral pink shade. This one, that's what I have. And for my lips, staying in the realm of I Need a Nude lipsticks from Natasha Denona, I have the shade Yana on my lips today. Super, super excited about that. Okay, let's take it on a damn beauty blender. I'm gonna just take the shade Sheen. Not much is like picking up on the beauty blender, but we'll see. Like I don't have anything on my, oh, do you see that? Oh, wow. Okay, I love that. Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. It's giving me like that glass skin effect, especially because it's like a glossy wet formula. It is giving me that wet effect. Can you see that? Okay, I'm gonna just apply that on the other side too, because I'm loving that. Yep. Taking it on my nose, because how can you forget your nose? Oh my God, I love it. Loving the effect. Oh God, okay. Is that my new highlighter? I don't know. Okay, let's move on to the eyes. The second eye. Let's go more pinky on this side. I'm going to start with Wit. Or should I start with Wig? Let's start off with Wig because we applied a little bit of Wit here. But we'll see. I feel like Wig can be like a transitioning shade because this is truly a mid-tone shade. It's not a light shade by any means. I'm taking refer number 1 for this. Let's start off with this and see. Yeah, definitely a little more on the deeper side. I'm gonna take that in the outer corner and also on my crease. Yeah, this is like my blush shade that I just applied. Demure. Looks very similar to that. It's just rosy. It's not like coral by any means. It's like a muted rosy shade with a straight neutral undertone. It's not cool, it's not warm, it's straight up neutral. Again, going back into the shade Wit, the peachier shade, and I'm gonna go over the inner corner with that shade just because I don't want to get deeper there and I want that pinky effect, so I'll take that there. See, that as a blush would be amazing too. Should we apply that as a blush? I feel like that will give such a fresh effect on the face. I'm also gonna melt that pinky shade with that Wit. That is beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna take that as a blush. Taking my BK Beauty blush. This is 104. Dipping into the shade Wit. And let's see. Oh, see? Oh my god. This is just stunning. Stunning. I need a face palette for this. I need a face palette. Natasha Denona, are you watching me? I'm sure you're not, but I need a face palette. Somebody tell her I need a face palette. So since I'm just blending everything, I'm going to take the same brush, same shades on my lower lash line too. I'm going to just turn my brush because the other side has dark shade. I'm going to go into Wit on my lower lash line, and then taking Wig also on my lower lash line but closer towards the outer corners, just like that. Now I'm gonna take the same brush, number 1, and I'm gonna go into Tender and Silhouette together. I don't want too much of deepness, but I do want a little bit of depth. This is stunning. I'm excited. Can you feel my excitement? There you go. Just a very soft gray brown shade by mixing both of those shades together. Oh my god, love it. Going back into Wig, blending the edges. So pretty. Okay, next glitter glow. Back into action. I was very sad that she did not put cream to powder formula because I really love her cream to powder formulas. You know, I always use it. But I mean, I would have liked if she could have replaced one of these shades, like I mean, I need Whisper, but I feel like she could have changed this shade into one more like mid-tone, like the same depth as this, and given us like a cream to powder formula in some other color, like staying in the neutral family, of course, but in something else. Let's take Delilah, this one. I feel like this is gonna be like my best friend. So pretty. So pretty. Okay. Oh my goodness. It's so, oh yeah, this is the wet formula, right? Yeah, I can see it. Because it's so wet looking. It's so wet looking on the eyes. It seems so ethereal. Like, can you see that? It has that brown base. But when I get into the light, all the sparkle and the shine, I just wish you can see it. And I hope my camera can do the justice of this. Oh my god, so pretty. I love it. I love it so much. Oh, that's stunning. So melting it with that gray brown shade that we created on the outer corners, I can just wear that shade all by itself on a bare eyelid and I can just go out of the door. That's how pretty that is. Okay, taking my blending brush with no additional product, just blending it out. Just right there. Oh, we did not use Mia. Let's use Mia. This one seems super light, but also this is like that wet formula, so I feel like it should melt with the Delilah shade. Oh my goodness. This is a wet eye look. Love it. Can you see that? Ugh. I don't want anything. Like, I'm so happy with this. Now I'm gonna go back into, actually we didn't use this. Let's use the shade Stone, this one, and I'm gonna take that on my lower lash line. Oh yeah, that's a true mauve shade. Actually, Stone looks so identical to my top shade. That's lovely. Okay, the only shade that we did not use is Travertine, so let's use that. I'm gonna take the shade Travertine, which is more of a gray shade, and I'm gonna take that right there. This is just okay. Like, yeah, I'm not going bananas. This is not my favorite shade of the palette. I can see people like appreciating those shades, but I cannot take my eyes off these wet shades. Okay, I'm gonna finish off this eye with some liner and mascara and lashes, and I'll get right back. And that's my second eye look. I love how sparkly, twinkly, wet it looks on the eyes. Really, really love it. It's two different vibes for sure. Like this is more bronzy glam kind of a look, and this is like very ethereal, very, you know, glimmery shimmery, but such an easy eye look. I left the my waterline bare just to give a little bit more like openness and like doe eye effect, and this I just smoked it out just because it was like super glam. Like that's how the eyes are looking, but you can see like the difference. Like it's just amazing. I used all the shades in this palette so far, and I'm absolutely loving the vibes. I was doubting myself whether I need this or not, because the color story is absolutely gorgeous, but I wanted to test it out for myself if it's gonna work on my medium tan skin tone or not. And as you can see, it's definitely beautiful. From my side, I'm going to give you 2 thumbs up. But yes, I really hope that you guys enjoyed both the eye looks that I create for you guys. Now let's move on into some comparison. There were a few eyeshadow palettes that I thought of, and one of my friends here on Instagram, Kim, she also gave me some suggestions just to compare, and I felt like this is going to be really interesting, because I have seen a lot of people comparing it to the other Natasha Denona palettes that's already existing in the collection. I feel like the vibes are totally different for all these palettes that I have in my collection. I do not have glam palette, and people are comparing it to the glam the most, but I thought, why don't we compare this palette with the ABH Sultry palette, because this actually looks so similar, like how do I do this? Oops. Okay, don't break the Natasha Denona palette. Look, it looks super similar, so I definitely wanted to give that like a comparison search. Also, let's not forget about this Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes palette. Like, look at that. Definitely this has more deeper tones. This is much more neutral, but if you stay on the lighter family, I feel like you can get the same vibes. Also, oh my god, this is why I do not like it. I stabbed at my pink shadow. The salmony pink shadow, which I absolutely love. Stop it. I also have 2 ColourPop palettes, which I am pretty sure you guys would have seen comparisons to, because I have seen comparisons to, and this shade is broken. And the only shade that I've placed apart from this palette is this maroon shade, so ignore that. Apart from that, look at the other shades. It's very close to the nude palette. And then that's Taupe palette, which is straight up like cool tone neutral family. Yeah, so let's see how things look in a swatch. So the first thing that I see close, okay, let's swatch Stone shade, the first shade of the palette. From That's Taupe, I'm gonna swatch the shade, this one, which is Python. Very similar. Okay. And from Born This Way, I'm gonna swatch this shade, which is Nude. So, yep, look at that. Look at the comparison. This is Natasha palette, this is That's Taupe, and this is Born This Way. Natasha. Okay, so Born This Way is not that similar. Close, but not similar. The other two are exact. Like, look at that swatches. So Natasha, That's Taupe, and this is Born This Way. Okay, second shade, Whisper, this one, inner corner shade. Then we have Snake Eyes from That's Taupe. I'm also going to swatch Pearl from ABH Sultry. Whisper from Natasha palette. This is Pearl from ABH Sultry, and this is Snake Eyes from That's Taupe. Snake Eyes from That's Taupe is definitely a little deeper, but Pearl and Whisper is very similar. Actually, the Snake Eyes might be similar to Travertine from this palette, so let's watch that. So this is travertine from the Nude palette. No, I mean that's travertine, close but not similar. So take a snapshot of that and let me wipe this, and let's move on to the next set of shades. I want to swatch Delilah, which is the Wet Effect formula, because I loved that shade. So Delilah is right there. Right there. I have one of the shades from, do you remember, what is that called? So Jaded palette from Colourpop. The shade called Pearl, the first shade, the Super Shock in her palette. What is Kathleen Light's palette? The texture seems super similar, but the shade is not. Texture is very similar. I'm actually gonna swatch Mia next to it, which is the wet shade right next to it. Like this formula seems super similar. It's not exact. I'm also gonna swatch Sheen right there. Yes, Sheen is a little different. It's not glimmery as these two shades, like all three shades. But this is from Kathleen Light's palette, the Pearl shade, and this is Mia. Sorry, this is the Kathleen Light shade, and this is Mia. Delilah, is anything close to Delilah? What about this shade? The Stared shade in that Stoked palette? No, that's also a Wet Effect, but not close. It's not close. Closer to Sheen, but it has sparkliness to it. I don't think anything is close to Delilah. The Wet Effect and the Glossy Effect formula is super unique and not dupable. Okay, let's do Ella and Filigree from Natasha palette, and I'll show you the difference. Ella is like a bronzy shade and Filigree is like a brown tone bronzy shade. Like, can you see that? The first one is Ella, this is Filigree. So let's swatch. I feel like we definitely have contenders here. Let's do Cinder, Antique and Ember. Cinder, very similar to Ella. See, Cinder, very similar to Ella. And then let's do this. Close, but not exact. Oh, this is exact. Oh my God, very close, very close. This is Ember. See, very close to that shade Filigree. Ember and Filigree, super close. Super close. Okay, let's also swatch this shade, which is Constrictor from that Stoked palette, and see that. Again, similar but not exact. From the Born This Way palette, I want to swatch Sugared Chestnut and Sparkling Sand. Let's see. Sparkling Sand and Sugared Chestnut. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, Sugared Chestnut seems super close to that first shade, Ella. Cool. Let's do this thing also. Sparkling Sable. This is definitely deeper. See, Sparkling Sable. Yeah, that's deeper. Let's see. Mesh and Python from that Stove. Yeah, similar, not exact. Let's do Seashell. No, that's not similar at all. Nude. Not exact. So let's do Mesh, Python, and yeah, that was from Born This Way. Oh, so light, all of them. This is melting into my skin tone, the Mesh shade. Is Python from that Stove, and this is from Born This Way, which is definitely lighter, so not exact. I feel like I might have similar shades to Wig, the dusty pink shade. Let's see. Wig. And then we have the one from Going Coconuts palette. And then we have Warm Rose from Born This Way. So Going Coconuts palette, very similar. Born This Way, similar but not exact. See, that's from Natasha palette. This is Going Coconuts, this is Born This Way. Similar, very similar. On the eyes, it's going to be pretty similar. Okay, let's do Muse, the shiny shade from the palette. Muse can be compared to Rose Quartz from the Sultry palette. Let's take Sparkling Sand from the Born This Way palette. And let's take Cocoa Crush from Going Coconuts palette. So the shimmery shade Muse from Natasha palette. Then we had Rose Quartz from ABH Sultry. Then we had Sparkling Sand from Born This Way and Cocoa Crush from Going Coconuts. Look how much that Natasha shadow is like shining. Yeah, I mean, you know, I won't call it a dupe. So that's all. Do you want to see the darkest shade also? I can swatch that too. Why not? Silhouette. And let's do Tender also actually. Tender and Silhouette. Yeah. I don't like to swatch my Natasha palette and waste it actually. Tender. And then let's do Silhouette here. So that's Tender and Silhouette from Natasha palette. Then we have a shade from that stove which is Rock Steady and Bedrock from that stove. That can be similar. So let's do that. Steady, Bedrock, similar, not exact, similar. Let's move on to Anastasia palette. We'll take Twig and Dystopian. Twig, Dystopian. All these like deeper brown shades looks very, very similar, I would say. I'll do Truffle from Born This Way because the other shade is, yeah, nowhere close in this palette. Again, similar. It has a little bit more of a warmer tone of a brown. Going Coconuts, I mean, it's not close by any means, but I can swatch it for you guys. This definitely, the top one definitely has some shimmer, but also, like, I don't know. You can decide for yourself. That's from Going Coconuts, the last row. So those are the swatches for the next deeper shades. I mean, I feel like you can come close, especially with Going Coconuts and that Taupe palette, or both together. You can definitely come close to the Natasha Denona Nude palette. Sultry has a few shades, especially with those bronzes, those taupey shades, those metallic shades. You are coming close, but again, you're not coming close with those wet sparkly shades. That is definitely missing. Born This Way palette is definitely the least similar, but again, if you stay close to that realm, you can get those pinky effect. These tones are there, but yeah, I am very happy, if you cannot say, with this purchase. So yes, I really hope that you guys enjoyed like both the eye looks that I create for you guys as well as the comparison that I did for you guys. If you did like it, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.